Hello, I'm Bev Turner for GBNews Originals on YouTube. If you like these videos, make sure you comment, subscribe and give me a thumb. Now, if I was the head teacher to these young men, I'd be sitting them down to knock their heads together and clear the air, perhaps with a cane in my hand. But who would deserve a detention? Elon Musk versus Nigel Farage, a bromance gone sour, but it was arguably all very predictable. Mercurial Musk, free to speak his mind, he's not going to get shadow banned on his own site, is he? Has taken a swipe at Nigel Farage, sending shockwaves through the Reform Party and beyond. This has sparked all sorts of debates. Should an American billionaire be involved in British politics at all? Wouldn't the left snap his hand off for such a leg up? Don't we need Musk, a free speech absolutist, to keep the digital town square alive and well? Well, it seems that Tommy Robinson's incarceration and the re-emergence of the Northern Town Muslim Asian rape gangs issue has lit a touch paper which has sparked this extraordinary fallout. But why? Now, while the surface level conflict between Musk and Farage is obvious, the underlying motivations and potential consequences remain, let's just say, a little murky. This is a story of white working class girls versus an elite ruling class turning a blind eye to community-based rape gangs so as not to be called racist. It's about who is defending non-Muslims in the UK. And if you scratch the surface, it's about Israel versus Palestine, pro-Zionist, pro-Netanyahu forces and political parties tiptoeing around this, the most divisive of topics. So the relationship between Musk and Farage had been one of mutual admiration, particularly regarding their shared views on free speech. Farage fearlessly praised Musk at a recent event. But once the issue of Tommy Robinson and the rape gangs arose, Musk appears to have used this to test Nigel's mettle. Would he or would he not laud Robinson as the man who was talking about these Muslim gangs years before, and furthermore, would Farage welcome him into the Reform Party? Well, Nigel stayed quiet. Musk voiced his support for Robinson, but unusually actually got his facts a bit wrong, mistakenly claiming that Robinson was imprisoned for telling the truth about a child grooming scandal. In reality, Tommy Robinson is serving an 18-month sentence for contempt of court related to a defamation case involving a Syrian refugee schoolboy featured in a documentary movie. Now, the severity of his sentence certainly suggests that Robinson was treated harshly due to his anti-establishment, anti-migration, frankly, his political views. But he has a huge following of mainly working class British people who see Robinson as identifying fears that they might have about their own high streets. Farage sensibly, in my opinion, distanced himself from the growing controversy, stating that Robinson is not right for reform, emphasising the party's focus on electoral success. Musk responded with apparent anger. The party needs a new leader, he said. Farage doesn't have what it takes. Which is what? Presumably to jump on an anti-immigration, anti-Muslim and therefore what? Pro-Israel bandwagon. It's a fairly critical time for Reform UK. They've secured 5 seats, of course, in the 2024 general election, marking their first representation in the House of Commons. They gain many more headlines than a party of that size reasonably should, and since Christmas have more paying members than the Conservative Party. Musk was said to be considering a substantial donation to Reform, so his sudden about turn could have far-reaching implications for the party's future prospects. And how ironic that a man who is literally in solitary confinement at Her Majesty's pleasure right now has been able to upend the most interesting partnership in British politics for years. Some describe the moniker that Tommy Robinson uses, quite literally a stage name, to represent the character that he plays for globalists who are nudging the world in a certain direction. Real name, Stephen Yaxley Lennon. The Luton boy has been a polarising figure in British politics for years. There is no doubt that he watched his streets of his hometown close to Luton Airport change dramatically, with a sudden influx of predominantly Pakistani Muslims who formed closed, cohesive communities around newly built mosques and showed little interest in diluting their culture into a more, you might say, typically British, Western, Christian even, way of life. But Robinson talks with a working class, state-educated accent. This is 10, 20 years ago, and he couldn't articulate in a way that was palatable to the chattering elite media class how these changes were affecting a community and a town that he loved. Nevertheless, he stuck his neck out, even making a memorable appearance on BBC's Newsnight under the gaze of a sneering Jeremy Paxman. So Robinson founded the EDL, the English Defence League, with complex funding and ties to pro-Israeli individuals fighting for a protected Israel, and by association containing an anti-Muslim bias. Was he taken advantage of by strategic pro-Zionist forces? Who knows? But it's always interesting to see when and why the name Tommy Robinson ebbs and flows in the public consciousness. And it's interesting to consider what role he plays in an overarching narrative.
If there was a war tomorrow, which there will be, because I'll probably start at the end of the session, if there was a war and it kicked off, I would be there on the front line fighting for Israel.
The recent number of people who turn up in central London to see Tommy talk prove that he remains a powerful, talismanic figure for Brits who feel scared about the erosion of a national identity. There's also no doubt that besides the lovely nanas with knitting and flasks of tea, at those events will sit some dark-hearted individuals who wish harm on anyone with brown skin. Those must surely be the people that Reform MP Richard Tice was referring to when he described them as that lot. The danger of such divisive figures, that's Robinson, not Tice, is that they can take a person's legitimate grievance, such as an unrecognisable monocultural Luton High Street, and twist it into something more hateful that focuses on the people, not the system. And this rhetoric does not allow space for the original grievance to be sufficiently considered. Farage and Reform must remain focused on the concerns of the British people with a ballot paper in their hand. They must strike a balance between addressing legitimate concerns and avoiding association with extreme ideologies. In a social media age, it takes strength not to be manipulated, exploited, and radicalised when you have quite real worries. But we still haven't quite bottomed out what Elon Musk is up to. Ironically, by attempting to position Tommy Robinson as a potential Reform Party leader, Musk has probably cemented Nigel's role at the head of the party. Anyone such as Ben Habib, who now opposes Farage, inevitably cast themselves as a Tommy Robinson fanboy, an association that millions of British voters still find unpalatable, and that doesn't look like changing anytime soon. If Reform has any hope of forming a government in 4 years, they must bring in more moderate supporters, and they cannot risk alienating all Muslim voters who are an organised and cohesive electoral force in the UK. If nothing else, this week's shenanigans might have proven that Farage isn't the old-fashioned racist that many still lazily conclude about him in this country. And what should we make of Musk in all of this? Well, thank God for his willingness to keep X as a platform of free speech. But at heart, he's a Silicon Valley big tech expert, an AI lover for whom there may never be enough money or power. Maybe he's not the freedom fighter we all need as we march inexorably towards living in a digital cage. Did you see his recent praise of WeChat or WeZin, the Chinese super app? In a widely circulated clip, Musk expresses admiration for WeChat and his desire to transform X, formerly Twitter, into a similar all-encompassing platform.
The possibility of Twitter becoming kind of a super app with payments included, maybe perhaps even Doge or something. This seems to me, based on your work with David at PayPal, like a pretty brilliant idea. What's the vision there in terms of if you were able to buy it, perhaps at the right price? What would it look like if I could at Jason to at Elon Musk, $10 or something if, we were splitting a check or something.
Sure. Well, for those that have used WeChat, I think WeChat's actually a good model. If you're in China, it's basically, you kind of live on WeChat. It does everything. It's sort of like Twitter plus PayPal plus a whole bunch of other things and all roll into one with actually a great interface. And it's really an excellent app. And we don't have anything like that outside of China. So I think such an app would be really useful. And just like the utility of it, of sort of a spam-free thing where you can make comments, you can post videos, you can, I think it's important for content creators to have a revenue share. Now this does not need to be done on Twitter. It could be done from something that's created from scratch. So it could be something new. So really, but I think this thing needs to exist, whether it is converting Twitter to be the sort of like kind of all-encompassing app that, like I said, everything from digital town square where important ideas are debated, maximally trusted and inclusive, and at a point where you sort of have a high trust situation, then payments, whether it's crypto or fiat, can make a lot of sense. We just want something that's incredibly useful and that people love using. But it's either convert Twitter to that or start something new. Those are the two. But it does need to happen somehow.
If you're scared of living in a digital matrix, then you should be bloody terrified of an app such as WeChat. It is an entire pass to real life, an ecosystem that integrates social media, banking, health, all your photos, status tracking, even links to public records. The app's terms of service explicitly forbid content that endangers national security, divulges state secrets, subverts state power, or undermines national unity. That is exactly the type of woolly language that we are also edging dangerously close to here in the UK in regards to law and bills. The Chinese government has the power to access all a user's data and restrict app functionalities. Had a parking ticket? Then you can't use your car. Failed to take a state-mandated vaccine? You can't leave your house. It is the stuff of nightmares. So Musk's admiration for such a platform seems like it might be at odds with his professed commitment to free speech. And this contradiction raises questions about his true motives and the influences shaping his vision for X. It also highlights the potential dangers of concentrating so much power and information in a single platform, especially one controlled by someone like Musk. And I say that as a Twitter lover. As this situation develops, it serves as a stark reminder of the complex interplay between technology, politics, and personal ambition. The British public, and indeed the global audience, would do well to watch these developments very closely. They may shape the future of political discourse and online interaction for years to come. The current landscape represents a critical juncture in the intersection of tech, politics, free speech, freedom to transact, and freedom of movement. And as the dust settles on this latest controversy, it's clear that the terrain is shifting rapidly. The influence of figures like Musk on political discourse and party dynamics cannot be underestimated. If we're not careful, we're going to find ourselves in a tailspin, with Elon Musk potentially emerging as an unexpected guide into uncharted territory, and it will be too late to pull up. The implications for free speech, political alliances, and the future of social media platforms like X are profound and far-reaching. The future of our digital and political discourse currently hangs in the balance. It is that serious. And it's up to us to ensure that it remains free, open, and truly democratic. So you need to stay vigilant. This is Bev Turner. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more GB News original content. I'll see you next time.